All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is Various Smith with the Startempire Wire Founders Podcast. And today I am with yet another founder, Kevin Osorno from Neoboard. And I will let Kevin give his own introduction. So take it away, Kevin.
Absolutely. So everyone listening today, my name is Dr. Kevin Osorno. I'm actually the founder and CEO of Neoboard. We are building the next generation platform to help students and program directors set up and manage study groups for their community colleges. So we're very big on collaborations and mentorship and networking for the students, especially in online classes. We're very big on that on our team. So that's what we're building. And one of the big things that I'm really big on, especially when it comes to education, is really helping students succeed academically, no matter their background, no matter their race, no matter their ethnicity, no matter even where they're located. It should be all about equity, diversity, and inclusion. So I'm very big on that, especially on my team.
Awesome. Dr. Kevin Osorno, please tell us a little bit about where'd you grow up? Like, what led you to the place where you wanted to become an entrepreneur and create a startup or create
Absolutely. So let me give you a little bit about my background story here. So I come from a family of Nicaraguans. Both my folks were born in Central America. My mother was born in a city. My father was born on the Atlantic coast. Literally, it was just rainforest. And my mother was born in the city of Granada, which is a very historical area down in Nicaragua. And they moved over to the United States in the late 70s with the Iran-Contra scandal during that time, because they moved out of there because there was a lot of violence taking place because of the Sandinista regime. And so they moved out here and they met right before they left to Nicaragua, and they came over here to the States. I actually grew up in a small family. We lived out in a place called Anaheim Hills. That was where I was born and raised, and I was born actually in Irvine. And so one of the things that I grew up in my background, my father actually was a real estate agent. He worked in real estate for many years. And my mother was really involved in all of that work that they did. So they sold a lot of homes, especially out in the Santa Ana and those areas. My upbringing, I've said a lot of great things about my folks. But one of the big things that came about when I was a child actually was that my father was actually pretty abusive. He was actually very violent towards my mother and his kids. And so I actually grew up a lot without my dad. He actually stayed out of our picture for a long time. He was very focused on his work. There was a lot of other things that were taking place in there, like extramarital affairs and whatnot. So I grew up mostly with my mother, and she was a huge inspiration for me, and she still is, even to this day. She's always been the kind of person to push me to always do better. She was always the kind of person to tell me, "You got to do well in school, Kevin. You're gonna be big one day. You just got to keep working and keep fighting hard." And I remember there was a picture on her wall once that said it was a picture of a stork trying to eat a frog, and the frog was inside the mouth of the stork, and it was grabbing onto the stork's neck. There was a caption that said, "Never give up," and that was actually one of my biggest inspirations as a child, seeing that poster, because I knew that I really wanted to make a big difference for my family. Really helped them out, because they came all the way from Nicaragua with under $100, and they were able to at least get to riches a little bit in the real estate business. But once my family got separated, that all kind of fell apart, and I really wanted to help my mother, especially during those dark times, to help her out, get off the ground and help her out, and make things right again, so to speak. I've always wanted to help out my folks, my grandmother, my grandfather, may he rest in peace, all of them, and help them out, and make it happen, live the American dream, so to speak. That's a little bit about my upbringing.
That's cool. Were your grandmother and grandfather here in the U.S. as well? Did they come over?
Yes, they actually
Okay.
came. They actually arrived 2 years after my folks did. This was like 10 years before I was born, so I
Cool.
wasn't there. I wasn't there during that time, but they tell me the stories of how they got up to the states here, lived in NorCal, and were trying to live in a small little apartment where they all lived in the same room, up in a place called Mimpitas. That was the name of the city.
Wow.
So yeah, it
That's
was.
cool.
They had a broken down car. But they made it happen. One car would be all they had to get to place, and that was a very big inspiration for me as a child. So we really make that happen.
Inspiring story. So you came from Irvine, grew up in or was born in Irvine, grew up in Irvine, right? Or
No,
that area?
I grew up in Anaheim Hills.
Anaheim Hill. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I don't know why I got Irvine. Anaheim Hills, Orange County.
yeah, yeah.
What brought you to the Inland Empire?
That's a great question. Actually, the reason why I moved over to the Inland Empire is because when I went to grad school after I had gotten my bachelor's degree in physics over at Loyola Marymount, which is my alma mater, I got accepted into grad school, and the UC that accepted me actually was UC Riverside, and so I moved
Nice.
down here to get to my doctorate, and I worked towards my PhD, or my master's for the first 2 years, and then my PhD for another 4 years. So I was basically raised in Riverside for the last 7 years that I was here. So that was my life here, and
That's cool.
getting to see downtown Riverside, driving around the March Air Base. That was basically what we could say is my upbringing here in Riverside. So I had a lot of wonderful experiences here in the IE. So.
That's cool. Yeah, you and I are kind of a little bit. We go way back, man. I just remember you from the early days of the Inland Empire Meetup group, and you were interested in developers to help you with your project. So let's move on into your project that you've been working on so hard for so long. And you've had developers from the Meetup group that I organized work on Neoboard as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, tell us how you came about, like, with the idea of Neoboard. Like, what's the origin of it?
Sure. As you might remember, as I mentioned to you before, I was actually here at UC Riverside getting my doctorate degree, and during that time, my mother would call me up at in the evening saying, "Your sister's having a hard time with physics or chemistry. I can't remember which subject it was," and she'd tell me, "You should help her out." And I told her she doesn't like it when I help her out. She's always she always be a nuisance. You know how sibling rivalry is.
Yes.
And so my mother told me, just help her out. It's not for her, do it for me. So I said, okay, fine, I'll do it. And back in those days, she actually was getting her degree at UCLA, and I was all the way here in Riverside. There really wasn't an easy way to help her out. I couldn't just drive over there. So instead, I used Skype at the time, and I actually occasionally used phone calls. We tried all sorts of ways to help her out. But she was always not. I did a lot of tutoring back in high school and in my undergrad. And when I finally moved on to my graduate program, I was doing a lot of teaching. But the one person I could never teach, unfortunately, was my sister. She never understood. She never understood anything I said, or maybe because she didn't like me. I have no idea. But anyway, one night I was trying to tutor her over Skype. I remember I was in the library at the time, and I was drawing on a whiteboard, trying to show her with my little camera like this, trying to angle it the right and whatnot. And at one moment she tells me, "Kevin, you suck at tutoring. You're awful. I don't know why people keep coming back to you for help." And so I was trying to be the big guy and say that no, but I lost it there too. And I told her, you know what? Don't ask me for help anymore. Go find your friends in the class and start a study group or something. She says, my friends are not in the class though. That's why I'm coming to you. And I said, well, that's not my problem. Go find people to help you out. And for a moment, she didn't say anything. She was quiet, but I knew what the reason was, because she kind of implied it in the statement she made right after it. She was too shy to ask people for help. So there was this moment of epiphany. I said, how is it possible that somebody who goes to a big school like UCLA, or in just because they're shy, they cannot access resources? So it made me wonder, is this a problem somewhere else? And so I started talking to students at UC Riverside, and I actually found that there was some of it at UC Riverside, but when I started talking to the community colleges, I saw a huge problem. And I started talking to students over there. I just drive over to their campus, go to the library, and start talking to some students. Hey, do you guys do you guys work in groups? And I would make that drive, and I realized, oh my gosh, these students are not forming study groups at all. They're just kind of in their own little islands in their dorm rooms, just working using Google as their study partner or using their computer. So I found that really shocking. And when I started talking to the department and people at high end, like the teachers and program directors, I started realizing that they weren't really trying to help these students form study groups. They were just saying, well, anything you do outside of class, that's their thing. And I found that to be a very awful thing to hear, because we're basically doing a disservice to the students. And I thought that to myself, how is that possible that these students are going to one day go out into the workforce, go and work with other people as a team, and right now they're just sitting in their rooms, going into and just using Google to search up everything. I mean, that's right. Useful, but to actually go and go into the workforce without any sort of with very little experience working in groups, I found it to be a disservice to the students. Right. And when I learned about that, I wanted to set on this venture to see if I could help build a technology that would help with that. Back in those days, I was trying to build what was basically a Khan Academy, until I realized that Khan Academy existed. And so I ended up saying, okay, what do these students really need? And I asked them, why not just use Khan Academy? And the students would tell me, no, the problem with Khan Academy is I can't ask Khan for questions. If I have a question on this, I can't ask him. So they wanted some on-demand help, and they couldn't go to the school because it was all the way 30 miles away, or it was at 5 o'clock. That's when they closed, and they needed help at 8 o'clock at night. The only way you're going to get that help was through study groups, and that's where the epiphany came in. I said, what if we made it really easy to form study groups? And that's where the idea originated from. And I started talking to more students, and I started getting a lot of interest in that. And that was something that I said, I'm going to set out to build this technology and see how far I can get with it, because I think there's a need here I can solve. So that's why, and that's where the origins of Neoboard started, was just from talking to my students, and seeing those challenges.
That's cool. So you did already cover a little bit of like the need and what your platform is doing. But I want to go a little bit more in depth. Are there any other features that you have included into there, and what needs do those features meet? You got the study group. Mm-hmm. What else?
Yes. So on top of setting up this, it's not like we just create the groups and that's it. We're setting up an entire system around those study groups. Okay. So a couple things that we're doing to meet this need. So one of the other needs I found was that it wasn't just as simple as creating the study groups. We tried doing that in our very first version of our app. And what we found was that the students weren't really engaging with one another. And what we found the reason to be was they didn't have a place to actually work. Some of them would try using the Zoom whiteboard, but then they didn't really have a goal. They didn't really have something to tangibly get done. So what we set up instead was the medium for them to work on. So if we knew that they're working on some sort of on a presentation, we set up a PowerPoint for them. So all they had to do is go in there and start working together. If they're working on code, like computer science, we had to set up an IDE for them so they can all work collaboratively through it. And that was one of the big parts that we set up for them. On top,
you have an IDE built into it?
We're working on that right now. We're
very cool.
We're trying to set that out for December. And so another thing that I found out, and one of the features that we set up because of this, is that we set up a way for them to schedule with their campus support, with academic campus support. So like the ARC, they give it different names at different colleges. We set up a way for them to contact the person in charge of the ARC or the tutoring center and say, hey, if their group is struggling with something and they don't know how to figure it out, they can just message the people at the tutoring center, and they can get someone help on demand and set up a Zoom link automatically for them. So the tutor and the student have to do is meet up in the Zoom session, and it's all done through campus support. So they're not going to be paying any sort of additional fees to an outside tutor. It's all cool. Resources that are located on campus. They're just connecting them directly. So that's one of our big needs that we found.
Wow.
With the first version.
The Inland Empire startup ecosystem industry is tremendously fragmented. A few top-tier hubs, San Francisco, Los Angeles, and San Diego, are well covered by media, events, and data platforms. Finding reliable information relevant to startups or the tech industry in the Inland Empire is extremely difficult. As a result, startups can't scale fast enough. Investors are having a hard time finding the right deals, and corporates can't find the right companies to partner with for their innovation activities. Startempire Wire, the leading Inland Empire startup publication, is providing the Inland Empire startup ecosystem with the most accurate, engaging business and financial data, events, and news. Our reach of entrepreneurs, C-level executives, angels, VC investors, startup employees, key management at innovative corporates, and big tech is the solution for your B2B or B2C needs. As we build out our platform, we're looking for partners. This is your opportunity to get in on the ground level. If you're looking to align yourself with the local and growing startup and tech ecosystem of the Inland Empire, we have created the platform to get your name noticed and the opportunity for you to grow the recognition of your brand. Contact us today for availability and pricing options. We look forward to our partnership with you. So you're right now on version
2.
Version 2. Okay. So lots of integration. Sounds like it sounds pretty amazing. I actually personally have not had an opportunity to watch you demo this yet. I've seen your I've seen like maybe the basic interfaces of it, but I haven't had it. We're gonna have to go through that one of these days as well. Maybe put it on the website.
Absolutely.
The next thing I would ask, is there anybody else who's doing what you're doing in the unique way that you're doing it that you can tell me?
Sure. Yes. What I've seen, at least out in the market space, are most of the platforms that I've been seeing are about creating the medium for students to collaborate.
Okay.
And so, but what I've been seeing mostly are just tools. Tools like, I'll give you some examples, like a very simple one that a lot of people like to use is Discord. Like they'll send messages to one another and maybe set up an audio call or something like that so they can work on an assignment together. I've also seen companies like Pronto, a new emerging one called Nectar, that all kind of do the same thing, which is they create the channel for the students to message one another and work on academic work together.
Okay.
So there is stuff like that out there, but that's not what we're focused on. We're not focused on creating the messaging channel for them to collaborate. We're looking at something much more deeper than that. We're looking at not just creating the groups based on the student's preference. So we look at the student's preferences. We look at, what time do they normally go to sleep? What are some of the preferences? What are some ways that they can help build chemistry among the students? We ask questions like that before we set them up with a group, and then we use an algorithm. We actually use an algorithm that we're testing right now to see which students are best suited to work in groups together while helping build that networking and that collaborative opportunities for the students. So that's what we're doing right now. And we're not just doing that, we're also maintaining the groups. We're giving them goals, we're giving them itineraries, we're giving them ways that they can continue working together, and not just worry about just going onto the call, working on homework and then leaving. We're looking at maintaining the groups as well. And I don't see anything like that currently being done on the market right now. I just see a lot of apps, which is not nearly enough to build study groups. So we're really into the group dynamics.
So you guys are integrating some type of predictive algorithms in there as well, huh?
Yes, there's actually 2 things that we're doing right now. One of them is to find out which students are best suited for which group. So we look at stuff like, are you an audio learner? Are you a kinesthetic learner? Are you a visual learner? Those are all very important things for group dynamics. And so we look at that information, determine what kind of student they are, and put them in the best study group possible that will lead to the best outcomes. That's the first thing. And the second thing that we're looking at is, does the student need help? So can we determine from the messages and from the conversations that they're having on Zoom that they're going to need additional resources? We're doing that as well. We're building in analytics so we can build basically an early warning system for all. Are the students in need of additional help? Are they at risk of dropping out? Because if so, we'll redirect them to the right resources. We'll connect them with the ARC. We'll connect them with a tutoring center. We'll connect them with counselors, whatever it is that they need, so that these students have the best chance of success, whether they're in person or in online classes.
I remember you telling me a little bit something about that, predictive algorithm you guys are using just in case a student is in need of extra help, or they're, in danger of dropping out or something like that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
You guys are on which platforms? Are you native to mobile and the web? Or are you on the web only? Where are you at?
We're currently running a web app, but we are going to set up a mobile version that runs the web app. So it will be an app, but it's running the web application.
Okay.
Technology. Yes.
Perfect.
So the idea behind it is that the students, and it doesn't matter what the student has for technology, they should be able to access this platform no matter what. So
right.
whether you have my cell phone or a crappy old computer, that runs Windows 2000, you should be able to access our application. That's something that we're really focused on.
I'm a web developer, so you don't have to convince me about web apps. No, the power of the web is that it's open source and that it's not going anywhere. It's with the new technologies that are built into the browser, I really do predict that native applications on mobile phones will disappear. It may not be in the next 5 or 10 years, but the work is the groundwork is laid. Okay, so tell us about the growth of your startup, from beginning to this point, and like a little bit of the growing pains as well. Tell us a little bit about that.
Absolutely. And this is a great opportunity for me to get into the COVID stuff, but I'll tell you about that in a little bit.
Okay.
In the early days, we set up, I think it was in late 2019 when I was setting this up. I actually built the algorithm myself, and I built a little window where I could just grab the information. I would tell the instructor, send me the list of your students. And so all they would do is send me the roster. I would run my algorithm on my computer and then place those students into groups. And I used Slack at the time to group these students up. And so we had about 40 students using the application at the time. But what we found was that there were some challenges with what's the word? We have some challenges of retaining the students, because what ended up happening is that the students didn't really have any goals. And so we've said that we need to have some sort of way for the students to have goals set up, aligned with them as part of their study groups. And so that's what we did. That's what we did. And another part of it was that we worked with a class that didn't have a lot of collaborative work. So when they worked on assignments, usually the students could end up doing it alone. So they were very simple assignments. So we wanted to we said we need to add a way so that students can actually work together, like actually make work that the students can actually collaborate on together, as opposed to just being separate and working on it individually. There is always a place for that kind of stuff, but at least for our technology, we definitely wanted to include that. And so we decided that, okay, well, we're going to keep fixing this up. We're going to keep updating it. And so it's been about a year in the making developing this prototype, because what's happened is that it became very difficult, especially during COVID, to find the right team, and it became very difficult. However, I did have one window of opportunity that I seized, which was I got a really awesome opportunity to connect with the awesome people down at UC Riverside and at UCI, who both helped me find mentors and developers who basically interns who could help me out with developers. And now they're a big part of my team right now. Actually, one of them stayed on because they love what we're doing.
That's cool.
And you actually met him in July.
Oh yes.
He's awesome. He's been an instrumental part of our back end development. But anyway, where we are at our growth stage right now is because I've talked to about maybe 50 or 60 program directors throughout the entire United States. And of those, about 82% of them said they wanted to do some sort of pilot of the technology. They're really excited about it.
Wait, you said 82%?
82%, yeah,
Wow.
82%.
Okay.
So a lot of them were really excited about the technology, and I saw that there was even more excitement from the schools that were located in rural areas.
Oh,
Areas that
really?
were isolated, yeah, because there's a big need in the rural areas, is what I found out. Because I talked in June to a gentleman that runs the National Rural Education Association, and he was informing me that one of the big challenges over there is because students are far away from campus, they can't really drive over there to work in person or do any sorts of stuff like that.
That makes
And
sense.
more so, they couldn't get teachers to work with. They needed a way for them to work in groups. They're called professional learning groups for the professors. So I saw a need not just to organize study groups for the students, but to set up learning groups for the instructors. So that was an amazing opportunity for us.
That's cool.
So over the past year, we went from a basic MVP where we tried it on a class of maybe 40 students to all of a sudden the National Rural Education Association wanting to be on board with this, to the regional director in the community college district down in San Diego, making introductions to me because they really wanted me to present this to other schools and really make this technology a reality so that they can help their students succeed academically. Because a lot of those schools, especially the rural schools, and also some of the schools in some of the two-year community colleges, have such low graduation rates, and they really wanted to see those numbers close that gap between the UCs and other schools that had graduation rates below 30%. And so they wanted to see that. So now we're getting all these awesome opportunities to pilot our technology. It's just a matter of getting it out there and getting it on the App Store or on Google Play. Right now.
So
we just now have to take advantage and actually get this out to market.
Yeah. So how do you plan on doing that?
On getting it out to market? Well, the way we're going to start off, we're going to want to start off small, because we're really trying to get it so that we can conduct our pilots at maybe five-ish classrooms at various schools. We want maybe 1 or 2 classrooms per school at most. And so what we're really trying to do is show proof of efficacy of the technology, that we're actually helping the students out with their learning outcomes, they're engaging, they're connecting, and there's overall a better sentiment among the students. And so where we're at right now, or the way we're going to get out to market is, once we have that data to show the efficacy of the technology, we're then going to go out and talk to the regional directors at different school districts and get invited to their conferences, where we can then have the opportunity to present to multiple schools. And that's where things will really get exciting, because not only would I be able to help make a sale at one school, but maybe the entire district.
That'd be huge. That would be huge.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, tell us about the current needs of your startup. I know you mentioned a little bit in getting the word out, but like immediate, current needs of what you need at this point to execute that distribution.
Absolutely. We're always our team is always looking for instructors and program directors to collaborate with and to pilot our technology. There's many of them. So many of the schools I spoke with wanted to see a little bit more developed before we move into the market. But we're always looking for people to pilot our technology with, especially in a small classroom. It doesn't matter whether you're an instructor that runs maybe a class of maybe 35 or 40 students for a STEM subject, or if you're a program director that wants to see study groups in your department, we'll be happy to collaborate with you. Because we do work in partnership with the schools to make sure that we're developing something that's going to be really not only effective for the students, but are really going to improve the learning outcomes to ultimately help with their graduation and retention rates, which can be a challenge for a lot of the two-year colleges. Mm-hmm. So we're always looking for professors and program directors to collaborate with. So to those of you that are listening, if you're a teacher at a small college, or if you're a program director or the dean of a college, or you're a principal, or maybe you're one of the higher ups and you're the VP of academic success, we'd love to have a conversation with you. We're not even interested in making any sale. That's not what this is about. This is really about helping the students. We really want to find a way to really get this so that students are working together and really really making a difference in their success and really going on to graduate. We want to close that education gap between minorities students, or even students in rural and urban communities. We really want to close that gap. We really want to help out those students. We really want to make this a technology that really helps with equity, diversity, and inclusion. That's really our big motto. And so that's one need that we're looking at. Another need that we're looking at was we're looking for people to always looking for advisors. The big person that we really need on our team right now is looking for an Edtech founder. Ideally, someone who's made an exit, who's conducted transactions at colleges, to really help us with those sales cycles, because we know that the sales cycles for colleges are really slow. We know that because I've talked to many Edtech founders, but we really need someone on our team who can help advise us. We've talked to so many, but they're all doing awesome and great things, but we're looking for that one person who can give us a few hours each month or so, who can really give us that advice and really push us forward. Because as we look for funding, as we look for investors, that's coming up next, we will need someone who can be on our team and help advise us, and we can say, we have the team right now, we're ready for that next step to accelerate. So we are looking for that Edtech founder as well. So in summary, we're looking for partnerships with the schools. If you're, like I said, VP of Academic Success, regional director, or even a teacher, we'd be happy to work with you. We'd love to hear your story, because that's what we always love to hear, the challenges that the colleges are going through. We want to make a difference in the world of education for sure. So that's what we're looking for.
Cool. I mean, I know you mentioned funding in there as well too. I know you didn't put that as a point, but that's in there, right? Because they're almost.
Oh, definitely for sure. We're looking for funding. We're building out the team right now so that we're ready to push up to that next step.
Nice.
So we've talked to many investors over the years, and I know enough myself that we need to really have the team solidified and the app at least tested to get funding. So in a few months we will definitely be looking for investors. But if you're an investor right now, my word to you is, let's have a conversation. I'd love to share with you what we're doing. And if you didn't listen to the whole podcast, I'd love to share with you what it is that we do and tell you where we're moving forward with our vision. Stuff that I can't say in this podcast.
Very cool. Very cool. So yeah, I know getting all the right people in place is important. I know Jim Collins talks about that in his book, From Good to Great. If you guys have never heard of that book, go read it. The next question, Kevin, is just your actual immediate goals. What are your short-term, like right now, goals within
Absolutely.
within the next few weeks, next few months?
The very first goal for us is to get our app ready to pilot. That's like within the next 2 weeks. We're going to get our app at least ready to go pilot it to some classrooms over in Inland Empire. That's one thing. The second goal right now is to apply for funding. We're actually applying for funding through the government SBIR program.
Nice.
We're applying for funding. We're applying to several different divisions. We're applying to NSF. We're applying to USDA. We're applying to Department of Education. We're applying to several places.
Okay.
And so one of our goals is to have our proposal ready and get it submitted before November, because that's our deadline. And so we're really crossing our fingers to get that funding, because it is $100,000 and maybe more depending on the program. So we can get that funding. We can hire the talent that we need to make a difference in education. Sure.
That's big. So what's any other immediate goals besides that?
Well, another goal I have is that that's a very big one on our team right now, is looking for, like I said, for that Edtech founder. So we're looking to bring on someone literally within the next month or so, because we need that for applying for funding. So getting that Edtech founder and hiring one more person on our team. So if you're a developer, listen carefully, because we might have an opportunity for you. We're looking for someone who can really help us with the analytics portion of the application. So if you're big on data or machine learning, one of the big ones that we're really going after is natural language processing or sentiment analysis.
Okay.
If you guys do that, if any of the developers listening to this do that, we'd love to have a conversation with you as well. We'd love to maybe bring you on if you're a right fit for the team. So Yeah, so that's where we're looking at right now. So we're looking to bring on a developer who's very good with those kinds of things.
Awesome. Okay, let's look to the future. You wake up in the morning, and it is 3 years into the future. Okay, where is Neoboard at in 3 years? And then also mention 5 years and 10 years as well.
Sure, absolutely. In 3 years, where I really want to see is that we've expanded out to most of the community colleges, at least in Southern California, who at least some professors can just easily go on our website, grab a QR code, put it on their syllabus. And now the students are just able to scan that code, and they are now in the system to help to get them in a study group on the first week. So that when the first week of classes begins, they are already assigned a study group, and they're ready to crank out and collaborate and study for all the stuff that they need. We'd love to see that, especially with the STEM students, because we know this STEM work is very challenging. I don't care whether you're in chemistry or physics; it's challenging to be in those fields. And so we'd love to see it that one day. Oh, I need some help on my assignment. Let me scan that QR code on the syllabus, and I want to be a part of that. I want to be a part of a group as well. That's where I see ourselves being in 3 years. At least people are aware of it and have their phones ready to scan it. That's one of the big things. And in 5 years, we would love. We're gonna have a system in the next 5 years for sure. That's really gonna expand. I would even argue to the entire state of California, which is the community college district. I always forget the acronym because there are so many acronyms in the community college system. But the state of California, we would love to have a technology so it's standardized across all the schools. It doesn't matter whether you're at a vocational school or you're studying at 3 different colleges for different degrees. The app is there ready for you guys. So we have you on our system. You are now, you can freely go to any college, and we can have you in our system. And not only that, but if you need a study group right away, we not only assign you one, but we find you the library and room to go and work together. We have a system like that. And I would say in 10 years, I would even want to have set up, at least for the students, a transportation system for them, right? If they need to work on a project and they need to do it in person, set up the itinerary for the bus ride, set up the Uber ride for them to meet up at the library or wherever it is that they need to meet up. If they need to go into the field, even better. Regardless of the project they're working on, we bring them to the right place and we set up everything for them. We're not just talking about when to meet up or even the Zoom session. We're talking about in person.
So like a concierge for study groups, basically, integrated with Uber. That's pretty.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah.
Set up everything for them so what we really want to do is that we want to make education, especially in the STEM sciences and whatever field it is that you need. We're trying to make it so that it's as easy as clicking a button, right? Let's just like today in Amazon, if you want to order something like online, you just click a couple buttons. Maybe you might need your card on there, and that's it. You order it, and it just shows up at your door magically. That same kind of system for the schools. Make it very easy for the students to just work together and make it happen.
And the way things are going, Kevin, it might not even be at the click of a button. It might just be at the thought. Well, we won't go into that because gets a little okay. Yeah.
I can talk a lot about that, by the way, because I'm a guy that's done a lot of research in the physics realm, and talk about WBEs, whole brain emulators, and reading the magnetic fields of the brain. We'll
have to geek out on that a little bit sometime, but maybe not on this podcast. Maybe in a future one.
Absolutely. But so that's where I see ourselves going. I want to see a system that it's just like you can order stuff easily on Amazon. You can find your study group. And all you have to worry about is studying and having a good time with it as well. We want to make it a good time for the students, and
I love it.
Really, and not just for the students, but setting up basically a school-wide mentorship program. It doesn't matter whether you're in a club, or maybe the person that you need to mentor, that you need as a mentor, may not even be at that same college. But maybe we can find you that person at the next college right down the street, or the college, maybe a city over, who can really be a mentor as you go through your careers. So
Yes.
if you want to go work at Abbott Labs, maybe there's not anyone at the college that works at Abbott Labs. Maybe at the other university there is someone there, and you could talk with them and have a conversation about looking at how is it like to work there. What can I expect? I really want to set up a huge I basically am trying to set up a district-wide, or I'd even argue a statewide mentorship program for the students. All starting with study groups,
Yes.
but expanding to mentorship. So, and we can identify which students will make great mentors and build them as part of our network.
That's pretty
so
cool.
That help students in the future.
That's really cool. And I don't know.
Right.
I just want to add one more thing. I don't know if you've ever thought about the thought of apprenticeship integration, because I think apprenticeship model, it has a lot of value. Not many people look into it, because you got higher education, but then you got, like in the Inland Empire, we got a lot of blue collar workers as well. And so I don't know if you thought about Neoboard being in that realm at all, So it may or may not be something for Neoboard, but
Absolutely, and we're always looking to have a conversation. I keep saying that over and over again in this podcast. We're
right.
looking to have a conversation with the right people.
Right.
If you think we can, if you're someone that says we'd like to see this in the corporate world, or we'd like to see this at our institution, regardless of what it is that you do, we'd love to have a conversation with you. We're always looking to find ways to help the community. Absolutely.
Sweet. Okay, Kevin, great interview. Tell us how we can find you, and how can we find Neoboard on the internet? Where are you located?
Absolutely, we are located in most social media. So Neoboard, you can follow us on LinkedIn. Our tag is Neoboard App, NEOBOARD. Just put the tag up there, and then add on an APP onto it. Neoboard App, and you can find us on LinkedIn. Follow us on there. We're also on Facebook as well, and if I remember correctly, we just opened up our Instagram account as well, so we're
nice.
both on there. You can also feel free to, and for those of you that want to have a conversation with me, you can find me on LinkedIn as well. My tag name is the-educator, the educator.
Nice.
I call myself. So the-educator on LinkedIn, and you'll find me on there. And again, you feel free to follow me, feel free to add me, and like I said, I'd be happy to have a conversation with you, whether you're an investor, an instructor, or somebody in the field of edtech research, or edtech as an edtech founder. You can find me on there. You can also find us on our website, neoboardapp.com. We actually have a demo that we're about to release. So it's as of this meeting, it's not ready. It's not out yet, but in the next couple of weeks, when the app is out, we will have a demo for you guys to have a look at. So if you're a teacher and you're afraid to talk to me, don't worry. I just lied a little bit, but I will. The demo will be on there. Yeah.
Do you have a mailing list that they can get on, like, to be notified? Is there a mailing list or something, or should they just watch your profiles closely?
Watch my profiles closely, but we are going to have in the next couple of weeks as well. Actually, sorry, not a couple of weeks. In the next month, let me be realistic here. In the next month, we will have a mailing list for anyone, especially interested in piloting or an investor learning more about what we do. We send out monthly emails to those that we're currently on our mailing list. We're going to have an established mailing list by the end of October. So
open to the public.
Yeah.
Awesome. So Dr. Kevin Osorno, I can't forget the doctor because he just got his PhD. Congratulations on that as well, doctor. And you guys follow him follow Neoboard app. Watch him closely. The things that he's coming out with. He's also recently been pitching to investors as well. That wasn't mentioned in the conversation, but if you're an investor, he wants to have a conversation with you as well. So everybody, thank you for watching the Startempire Wire Founders Podcast. Thank you, Kevin, for coming on today. And we look forward to having you back in the future.
Absolutely. And it's always great having a conversation with Various. If for those of you that are listening right now, if you don't know Various right now, you gotta meet this guy. This guy's amazing. I love this guy. So I would love to sit on another podcast with you another day, because it's just awesome having a conversation with you, Various. You bring up the best in people. You bring up the best in ideas. So I'm happy to talk with you.
Sweet. All right, guys. Come back next time for the Founders Podcast. Peace.